Hello everyone and welcome to another Trotec Laser webinar. For those of you that still don't know me, my name is Lauren van Rooyen and I will be your host today. We are also going to have Peter Kleinans in the background. He is going to be answering any questions that you might have during the webinar. So if you hear a mysterious male voice suddenly appear while you're busy watching, it's not a voice from above, it's just Peter answering your questions. Cool, so today we're going to be looking at wedding applications. So what do we mean by this? Say now you have a client that comes to you. You know they have a wedding coming up and they have maybe approached you with one or two small items that you can do for them, a customized engraved watch or something like that. So we're going to show you today how vast your offering can be in terms of helping your clients and providing them with various applications for their wedding day. So we're going to be using the trusty and reliable Rayjet 50 today for our applications. And as you might see, it is already running an application. So in our registration quiz registration form that we sent you, we asked you to select the materials that you'd like us to see processing in live in today's webinar. And the two products that stood out far past the rest were paper and cardboards, as well as acrylics. So at the moment, what's running in the Rayjet is this application over here. So this has been cut with the Rayjet 50, and as you can see, is paper. So you could use this for menus or for invites for the wedding day or something like that, and use a white printed insert for your information, and then simply fold the doors of this application over to give you a nice effect. So that's busy running at the moment. And if we switch over to the PC screens, I'm going to take you through just how easy it is to send through an application like that using the Rayjet software. So let's go through to that now. So I have got my artwork in Coral Draw. So this was previously set up. And as you can see, we've got a couple of different colors over here. So generally speaking, if you're wanting to cut out, which is what we're doing, you would use red. So red is for cutting. And because we're going to be doing quite detailed inner geometries today and some scoring as well as an outer geometry, we've used different color assignments for the various cutting instructions that we want the laser to perform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the job over here. We're going to press File. I'm going to press Print, same as what you would with a normal printer. It's going to give me my artwork over here. I'm going to select Selection. I'm going to go to Settings. So over here, we leave everything as is. I'm happy with all this setting over here. Next, I'm going to go to Material Settings. And obviously, we don't want this to be selected as plastics. We want it to be paper. And this is just normal laser paper. So we're going to select that as well. We've used it on different colors over here because, as I previously mentioned, there are different color allocations on this application that we're going to be running. Right, so everything looks good here. I'm going to press the Rayjet Manager button, and then I am going to press Print. All right, so it's going to open up from there. So ordinarily, obviously, we've just run this application for you guys to see. But what you would normally do is take this over here from the job queue, pop it onto your work surface into the laser pointer over here. If you want to see what the job looks like, you would press the what you see is what you get, or the I button. There we can see the artwork still looks good, size looks good and everything. And ordinarily, we would press the play button, which we're not going to do now because you will see that the application has finished. So we're going to open up the laser. Here is the excess. Right. And that's the one that has just been cut over there. So you can see there's some nice score lines over there as well. So that helps. Scoring lines will obviously just help your paper application bend a lot easier than if you didn't have something like that. So that's the one application that we're going to be using for paper. The next application that we will be doing is a cardboard cutout. So we're going to be using the cardboard to create what they call a wine glass identifier. So I've got my piece of cardboard over here. Thank you, Peter. I'm going to pop that into the machine. Next, I'm going to just focus this over here. All right, so I'm just using the little focus tool inside the machine and pressing the axis button until the focus tool pops off. I'll put that away neatly inside the machine. Close the lid. All right, and onto our next application. So follow me back to Coral Draw, where I have got my little wine glass identifier that I've created over here. So with this cardboard, we're not only going to be cutting, but we're going to be doing some engraving to show you guys that it's also possible to engrave paper as well. So a lot of people know about the cutting side of things, but they don't know that you can engrave it. And guys, it really gives you a lovely high contrast result. It's absolutely awesome. I would definitely recommend that you try it out. So I've got my cutting, which I've indicated in blue in this instance. My thin line engraving I've done in red. And then my normal engraving or my fill engraving I've done in black. So once again, we select the job. I go to File, Print. We're going to go to Settings. We're still on paper, so I'm happy with that. Over here, I'm going to change this to cardboard, 650 grams, because that's what we're using. We're happy with it on color. Happy with 500 DPI, or press the Rayjet Manager button and press the print button. Right, so it's ready in Rayjet Manager. Here is my job in the job queue. I'm going to point it up to the corner over there. Everything looks good. So I'm going to hit the play button. Right, so that is busy running on the laser. So some of the things that we should think about. Hang on, sorry, I'm just getting a sign from my co-host here.
Lauren, so we've got LaserTech Botswana asking if you're going to have the laser paper back in stock anytime soon.
The laser paper, that's a good question, Jivan. Hello, thank you for watching as well. So the laser paper, as far as I know, has been discontinued. We do have some colors in stock, but yeah, it hasn't really been renewed on our side, basically because it was quite pricey. But you can use normal paper. So we've got a scrapbooking department upstairs, for those of you that don't know, that sells different types of cardboard and paper by the ton. Like there's a lot of it from there. So you can always just use that. You can use any paper really, and then just adjust your settings from there. It doesn't specifically have to be the laser paper. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Cool, so that's still busy running on the laser. Let's just quickly have a look. Yes, so obviously working with paper and cardboard does have its advantages. So some of the advantages that you can consider, or even consider pitching to your clients when speaking to them about their wedding applications, is that number one, working with a laser has a much faster production time than what it does taking it to a printer. It can give you really, really fine cutting details, which most things that cut out paper can't. And it's obviously also cheaper than printing. If you compare the price of ink as opposed to an engraved piece of paper, it's going to work out far cheaper. Something that you should also always keep in mind when working with paper or cardboard is that you should obviously keep your air assist on. And we do that so that it doesn't have any risk of flaming or charring the cardboard or the paper that we're working with. All right. So here is my little wine glass cutout. So obviously you would just open that up and that would fit around the stem of the wine glass. And you can see there's really nice fine engraving as well as the deep full engraving that we would normally do. So quite a nice example, super fast to make, super cheap as well. So something that you could look at offering your clients. Right, so the next product that you guys asked to see is acrylics. Obviously a very, very popular one. And the most popular, without a doubt, is cake toppers. So we're going to show you today how to create a cake topper using one type of material. And we're also going to show you how to combine materials as well. So I've got a piece of Troglass. This is the 4mm, but it's available in 3mm, 4mm, I think 5, and a bunch of other thicknesses as well. And we're going to engrave on this, and I want to specifically show you what it looks like engraving on clear. Because a lot of people just use clear for, these days, sneeze screens and things like that for COVID, but the engraving actually gives you quite a nice result and a high contrast result with minimal effort. So I've got my piece of 3mm acrylic. I've obviously taken off the top layer of plastic protection, and I'm going to pop this into the laser. In it goes. We will obviously do our focusing as well. Whoops. There we go. Perfect. Close the lid. All right, and follow me back to Coral Draw. So, hiding over here in the left-hand corner of my Coral Draw sheet is a cake topper that says Mr. and Mrs. Mayer. So we're going to be cutting and engraving that. So I've got my artwork over here. Obviously, we're going to cut out the circle with the little peg that goes into the cake, and this part over here will be engraved. So we've chosen to do an outline engraving just to show you the fineness of the engraving, but you can also obviously do a solid engraving, which will give you a really nice frosted effect. So definitely something that I also encourage you to try out. We're going to send this through now. Also exactly the same process. So click on File, Print, Settings. Obviously, we're going to change it to plastics this time. Acrylic casted is perfect. I'm happy with that. Happy with the rest of the settings. So I'll click on Rayjet Manager. All right. Happy with everything else. So I'll click on Print. That was my previous job, so I'm just going to take it out there. See, and there is my cake topper. So we'll just pop that into the job surface. Let's just double check it's the right one. Yes, it is. Fantastic. All right, and we will press play. Fantastic. So while that's busy running, a trend that we've seen crop up recently that's been quite fashionable and that got us quite excited as well is people have been combining different acrylics and stacking different materials to give you like a 3D effect. So what I mean by that is literally taking 2 pieces of acrylic, or 3 pieces if you really want to, and sticking them on top of each other. So once this is done, I'm going to show you the effect that you can get by doing that. So obviously, if you have a smaller circle, which you'll see now, your next acrylic that you put on top of it doesn't necessarily have to stay within that circle. It can overlap, things like that. And the way that you would achieve something like that is by using a double-sided tape. So in the next example that I'm going to show you, we've actually got some of the material with a double-sided tape on the back. And you would process it as normal and then just peel off the double-sided tape afterwards. Cool, so this is nearly done. We're just busy cutting out the outside circle of the Troglass clear. So we're just going to wait for that to finish. But in the meantime, guys, just like Javon, if you have any questions that you want Peter to answer you, now's the time. It is the ideal opportunity to ask those questions that you've been dying to know the answer to.
And just while the machine is still busy cutting there, just worth to note, acrylic is quite flammable, so always stay with the machine while cutting.
That is a very good point. Thank you, Peter. We will definitely remember that. All right, so it is done. So we're just going to pop that out there. Excess. I'm just going to clean it as best as I can with my hands. Probably should have had a cloth to do this. As they say, hindsight is 20/20, right? All right, and we peel off the protective layer.
Lauren, we also have a question from Jovan again for the acrylics. Do we sell our acrylics with optional double-sided tape at the back?
The acrylics, no, but there are some of the Trolay's materials that do come with a self-adhesive backing. It's the very popular colors like your brushed silver, brushed gold, also things like your white, black, stuff like that. So the acrylics, not at the moment. That is something that we could definitely look into. But the double-sided tape that we sell is, like, if I may say so, very, very reasonable. So I would look at possibly using that as well. Obviously, it does take a bit of time, but I would say it's definitely a good option for the interim. Right, so here is our clear acrylic cake topper that we've engraved. So you can see, even though I haven't cleaned up the edges nicely right now, you can get the idea of the effect in terms of the contrast, and it's really, in my opinion, quite chic as well. So something to keep in mind, like using clear acrylic. Right. So the next product that we're going to use is our ever so popular and favorite Troglass mirror. So, thank you, Peter. The Troglass mirror is obviously a reflective material. So obviously, when you work with a reflective material, you should keep in mind that reflections and lasers don't go well together, especially in the sense that it would start a fire. So let's not have any fires. Right, so because of that, we're going to place the material face down into the machine. And here is the double-sided tape that I've applied onto this specific section that I know I'm going to be working in. So it literally just has a little protective layer and the two pieces of double-sided tape. We're going to pop that into the machine. As always, make sure it's in focus. Oops, I'm going to try that again. Perfect. We'll close the lid. And we're going to head over to Coral Draw again. So over here, I have my very funny looking, what is actually Mr. and Mrs. Mayer. So it might look a bit odd at the moment because it is back to front. But if we think about this carefully, the material is currently back to front. So if we had to do this the right way around, obviously the bottom of the material would be gold. And in this instance, that is not what we want. So keep in mind when you're working with a reversible material, like Troglass mirror or Troglass reverse or Trolay's reverse, you need to reverse your artwork. So something to remember. Right, so I've selected that artwork over here. We're going to press File, Print. Nice settings over here. Still happy with plastics and acrylic casted. It's perfect. Everything else looks great as well. So I'll press the Rayjet Manager button and then press Print. Switch over to that. I'll just take my previous job out of the queue. And here is the latest one, which is my back to front Mr. and Mrs. So with this, I'm going to show you quite a nice way to combine the materials like we mentioned earlier. Cool, so I'm happy with everything there. It's the right one. We're going to press ready. That's awesome. So that's busy cutting at the moment. But the end result, once you take it out and once you peel off the double-sided tape, is something like this. So this is literally the same cutout that we did earlier. I did the engraving, which can actually be used as like a marker for where you're going to stick your material. And then literally just stuck the material onto that. And it gives such a nice, like, different striking effect. So, and like as I said earlier as well, your lettering doesn't necessarily have to be limited to the sides. It can obviously stick out either side to give it like an even more 3D perspective or something like that. So really cool effect that you can do. Obviously, with normal Troglass, if you're going to be doing a cake topper just with those letters cut out, you want to make sure that all the letters are touching at some point so that the letters don't fall apart and fall into your cake. because that would be a mess. Right, so we are nearly done with it. So I'm going to pop some of these out in here. Woo. Oh, I think I used the wrong setting. Maybe I should have selected my Trogloss mirror gold setting instead of the cast acrylic setting. So that's fine. Should we run it again? All right, let's do it again, but we'll just move it a little bit lower. And I'm going to just go back here. We learn as we do these things, and mistakes happen. Okay, settings, here's where I went wrong. Cast acrylic should be mirror gold. There we go. Press print. Rayjet manager. Here's my latest one, so I'm just going to pop that. I'm going to pop it next to it. Oh, hang on. No. So I want that one more or less over there. Should be right. All right.
Also, just to note, Lauren, you can also use the pointer for positioning on the Rayjet and or any of Trotec's machines.
Yes, that is also true. Thanks for that, Peter. I will remember that next time. Cool. So while that is busy cutting, and like I've said, you guys have obviously gotten the effect of the whole combining of materials thing. We'll show you what that looks like when it's done. But there are also some other ideas that you can use to create, like we said, a multitude of wedding applications. So some other things that you can use, and linking back to the paper and the cardboard, is things like bunting for room decor, or for even putting on the main table at the wedding. You can create custom confetti if you want to use the bride and groom's initials and have that cut out as confetti, or little hearts or little stars or whatever it is. It'll be much quicker doing it with a laser than sitting with a hand punch and individually punching out those letters. So something to consider as well. Let's see. All right. So you could do something like that as well. You could also do your rubber stamps, which is a great idea on the Rayjets. It's awesome for making rubber stamps, which the bride and the groom can then use on their invites or on their menus or whatever wedding stationery they have. You can also do customized embossers with the bride and groom's initials or their anagrams on it. You could do coat hangers engraved with the bride and groom or the bridesmaids' names or the groomsmen's names and mom and whoever else is invited to the wedding. There are also things like your table numbers that can be made out of wood, stencils if they're wanting to do other forms of wedding decor, that's DIY. Mr. and Mrs. signs out of wood. You can do serviette rings out of laser leather, and you can do coasters as well. So we could honestly go on for hours and hours and hours with telling you about different applications that you could do for weddings. The only limitation really is how creative you're willing to be. So yeah, definitely something to consider for your next wedding job that you get that comes through. Great. So most of these products are available on our website, which is www.engraving-supplies.co.za. You can purchase them from there, or else you can always call us, email us, and we will obviously help you out from there as well. Great. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for the questions as well. Hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you around next time. Take care.